Hello everyone and welcome to Season 2 of Skybound. I know, right? It's been a while. It's been almost a whole year since we had last streamed Skybound. But things might look a little different. This is because Season 2 starts on a new world. If you are new to the concept of Skybound, Skybound was initially a server started by me and my friend the Dragon Lord for us and our YouTube friends to play on. This season of Skybound is a little different, however. If I come to the achievement tabs, you will see that we have some plugins. Nothing game breaking, only some quality of life things to do with mob heads, which are all now droppable, spectator accounts, which are allowed but cannot load chunks, so they cannot be abused, multiplayer sleep, the silence mobs, which is a very good plugin that allows us to silence certain mobs. Then we have unlock all recipes so that it just generally isn't as hard to get what we're looking for. On top of that, we have armor statues and nether portal coordinates. Those are about the main plugins that we are using, and for now they are the only ones. But inevitably in the future we might use more. No guarantee though. But you're probably wondering, why is there so many things if you're just starting out this server? Well, I'm recording this on the Wednesday after the server had already started on the Saturday. The reason why I am recording this now and I'm pretty kitted out is because in actuality, I was recording the initial build-up, I guess, where we had all joined the server together as it is an SMP. I initially started recording this on Saturday with everyone else as we were in a VC, and you could see all that I guess gameplay if you go to the first link in the description, the Dragon Lord stream about it, as I had the recording and it got corrupted, so I was sadly not able to add it to this video, meaning we already made a lot of progress. I should probably explain things as I go along. So when we first started, there was a tree where you see this nether portal, more specifically on this block. This is what leads to this screenshot you see right now, which is actually a creative test world, as all of us have access to the seed. Me and a Spectrum D, one of the other members, had actually created a hub area. I had created the tree and he will be working on the pathing area around us. So this is where I need to start getting into explanation. I had initially went mining by dropping down this hole over here and had gotten pretty lost. But I had made my way down to a little lava lake and had actually set up a little nether portal that links up to this one as well. But as you might guess, I got pretty lost, meaning I had to mine up to the surface as these new cave generations are pretty hectic. And I'll show you exactly where I mined up actually, and that will also explain the diamond pickaxe and some of the diamonds I have in my chest, which I will be happy to show in just a moment. But as you can see in this cave, there is a hole that rather stands out. This leads down to the area I was stuck at when I went mining. Of course, this wasn't for diamonds, but actually we had started mining for a different reason, which was to create a nether portal, as we wanted to set up an early game hoglin farm that is yet to pop up, as we can't go onto the nether roof yet. But nevertheless, we had made a lot of progress in these last 5 days. This is initially where I wandered down to, all the way down this crevice, where you will see the initial lava spout. I would have quickly cleared it out with water and eventually realized that, hey, why don't I start mining? Because we had no flint and steel, so I had to use the old lava and wood trick. The reason why this portal is no longer lit is so that the one on the surface links properly. So we came down here, and as you can see from the first patch right here, we had actually discovered diamonds. I originally made a quote about how this is going to look really sketch, and in my opinion it would have. And as I continued mining, I would eventually ran into a double vein of lapis and redstone. So we have some of that as well. But for me to continue this explanation, I need to get back up to the surface. We are back at the surface, and now to say what happened next. After we had come out the caves, instead of just immediately going back, we had initially set up this portal as we had gotten diamonds. These little farms didn't come until later, with that one being the first to emerge. Taking advantage of the other Skybounders' ability to collect crops fast, I had initially set up a bigger crop farm that is available to anyone who wants to use it. Meaning this is not my farm, this is just a little community farm that I am currently showing you. This farm is a basic in ocean design and will probably eventually be expanded. I do not have anything to replace that with right now. This farm currently consists of potatoes, which you can see in my inventory, wheat because we had used it on our starter base, which I will elaborate in more in just a second, and carrots, since these are mostly the important crops. We had gotten sugarcane much later after making this from YK. But there's something probably catching your eye. The mangrove trees. The mangrove tree, specifically the one you are currently seeing, is one that I got on Dragon's Stream. I had actually gone to his base, which is about 4,000 blocks in that direction, 2,000 on each axis, one on the primary negative axis and one on the positive axis in that direction, meaning he is quite the distance away. But there was a mangrove swamp. Now back at the starting area again, I will show you our starter bases. A lot of us had decided to base right here in the canyon, right up that crevice. Mind you, not everyone decided to base here. Mainly the Dragon Lord, who, as I said, based about 4,000 blocks out in that direction, and Frisky, who had found a village nearby. As you could see, wandering up this portion of the cave, you will stumble across some starter bases. I will go in order of how these starter bases had initially emerged. As I was mining, YK was quick to set up his little starter base, and by YK I mean YK Anime. All these people's links will be in the description, and it is pretty quaint. I understand that he wanted to go for something small, as he wanted to start working on his Megabase as soon as possible, since he has a pretty large project similar to ours, which I will explain at the end of the video. This is a Spectrum D's little abode, which some funny things had happened here. Frisky had initially been sneaking around in his walls as construction had happened, and that's how we had actually ended up with a few Frisky heads, which I will now show you in our starter base. This is the reason why we had required to make that farm, as we had used mud in our starter base. Oops. And mud bricks is just such a beautiful block, and I get it, I'm not the greatest builder, but I'm really happy with how this turned out. And as you can see, this is called Sixmysta's Enchanted Church. May Zephyr guide us. Don't worry about that. And as we come in, we see that it's kind of cut off, as I had stopped the episode and realized that my recordings had practically just up and disappeared. Not necessarily disappeared, but what had happened is my recordings had really choppy frames. And here is what we've gathered up until now. In this very chest, you will see that we have both mob and player heads, and along with that, some resources. The most important of which is these diamonds, which I had explained how I'd gotten earlier. But obviously, I could not have gotten this from one vein, since 9 of these had actually been given to us by YK, our next door neighbor. So, now that you are completely caught up, let's get into what I was going to do this video. We're going to start off with a quick mining time lapse, and while that is going, I will explain the method of mining that we will be using. So we will be creating a tunnel that's between 30 to 120 blocks long. Obviously you can make it any length you want, but intervals of 3 or 30 usually works best for this type of mining. So what you want to do is make your tunnel about 60 to 100 blocks long, and then afterwards on your way back, mind you, this all has to happen on negative Y56. On your way back, every third alternating blocks, you will mine 5 blocks to the right, 5 blocks to the left, and 5 blocks above you to reveal the maximum amount of surface area, I guess, so you would be able to reveal the most amount of ores. And as you will see, for the initial stretch or initial tunnel, not many diamonds were unveiled. Actually, only one set or one vein of diamonds were revealed at the end. But on the way back, we actually got quite a few, which the Hall of Diamonds will be shown to you after this little time lapse, as the amount of surface area we are clearing up is the equivalent of many of these types of tunnels. So as you might imagine, it was fairly efficient. And if you're wondering why I am mining into the tuff, is just on the small chance that that is not a tuff vein, but an ore vein covered in tuff, as that is how you can distinguish the individual ore veins. And for right now, we are actually pretty short on iron, not having gained much from this entire haul, meaning in the near future we will most likely be making an iron farm, which is kind of spoilers for next episode, as we will be working on a village of our own, similar to Frisky. And with that out of the way, let's move over to show our plans for the season in our creative test world. Now in our creative test world, you could see the plans for the portal in the middle. Obviously, the portal itself will use a little work along with the interior of the tree and even the roots, I guess, as I will only be building the main tree, which I actually really like. It uses a combination of mangrove wood and spruce stairs to make a pretty cool look. Yet this will not be exactly duplicated into the world. This is more of a reference image that helps me figure out what I actually want to do. Also, this exact pathing is not going to go into the server as Spectrum or a Spectrum D. As you will see on screen, this is a screenshot of what his interpretation of this area would look like, meaning he would be doing the path while I build the actual tree. He had also suggested that we actually blend the tree, making it look like the nether is seeping out into the overworld, which I think is a really cool idea, and we will actually be working on this tree during the next few episodes. We'll probably either get on it in episode 3 or 4, but I cannot guarantee any of that. Now let's switch over to our Megabase location, which I really want to show off. And this is the location of our future Megabase. I know what you're wondering. Are you gonna revamp the Ocean Temple and so on and so forth? And I'd say no. I actually have a much bigger idea for what's going to go within this area. If we cut down our render distance to 8 chunks, we would see this right here. This square is an 8 chunk square around the area where our base would be centered, which is obviously the ocean monument. We will be both clearing out the water and leveling it down all to the same Y level, which most likely would be either the block at the bottom of the Ocean Temple or a few blocks lower, for farming means of course. But this also means that we would have to do a lot of digging. And I know, yes, while TNT dupers are frowned upon in most communities, we as a community here in Skybound are actually pretty cool with most exploits as long as it does not involve item duping. And if you don't know what item duping is, it is the duping of an item within an inventory slot and not necessarily an item like sand, which will be allowed to be duped, and obviously TNT. This is where we will get the means to create somewhat, but not exactly, a World Eater. Obviously, this will be a water clearing variant of the World Eater, meaning this entire square, which is kind of buggy right now, would actually be how we clear this entire area out. We will be practically making the perimeter, getting the scale we want within the next few episodes, and then we would actually start building the machines. Obviously, things like clearing out all the seagrass and kelp won't necessarily be needed because of how we will be making everything. But so, with our practically base plans now, I will also explain what exactly the base is going to be. After figuring out the direct dimensions, we will be creating a giant circular structure around the base, where then we would reintroduce flooding for the ocean, and we would be building a Japanese-styled civilization within this area. The reason I had actually chosen Japanese is because of how this channel had been built up until now, being focused around anime, and practically what had made this channel up until this point. Meaning I will be recreating a lot of structures from some famous anime that I watch, and possibly even some custom structures that I just think would look cool. This area will not only function as a base location, but also as an industrial district, meaning we would actually try to log on to this area only if a few people are on. We will avoid chunk loading, as chunk loading a industrial district can be rather dangerous. Everything from the basic villager crop farm up to mega iron farms would be introduced. We will be having multiple units for iron farms throughout this entire circle, and would even have some other more controversial farms within this area. And with our plans for Season 2 out of the way, let's get back into this episode. After returning from the mine, this is the resource heal that we got. So after mining for give or take 30 minutes, this is the immense amount of resources that we were able to accumulate. And with all that out of the way, the explanation of our future base plans, our mining session that had actually healed pretty well for only lasting about 30 minutes, this episode of Skybound Season 2 will come to an end. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be notified when more parts of this series come out. Also, while you're at it, the cards you're seeing on screen are videos I personally think you would enjoy. So, if you enjoy anime like I do and want to see me do some hypotheticals, maybe click on one of those. But, without further ado, this has been your boy Six. Peace.